9.3 seconds left. Green picked up 2 technical fouls, was ejected for arguing the outcome of a jump ball. Then Terry Rozier hit an off-balance jumper as time expired to give the Hornets a 102-100 win Saturday night. Here's Steve Kerr on Draymond.
He crossed the line. That's the main thing. We love his passion and his energy, and we would not be the team we are without him. But that doesn't give him license to cross that line, and he knows that.
Max, do you have a problem with Draymond's ejection?
I do. I have a problem as it relates to Draymond, not the ejection. Let me explain. I always felt that the dynamic on the Warriors was a little bit off because Draymond's the heart and soul guy, and Draymond is a leader on that team. And Draymond's also the little bit of the crazy guy. I mean, to play defense the way he does, you got to be a little bit of that. And a lot of great teams have that guy with a little bit of a screw loose, right? And that guy can be a great contributor, as Draymond is, and a leader. But in the absence of another real alpha on the team that has that kind of personality, that could sometimes be a problem. I'll give you an example. In the Cavs comeback win against the Warriors at Oracle, don't forget, that was a 73-win team. But also don't forget, Draymond was the best player on the floor until late in that game. He was about to win Finals MVP. Steph wasn't getting it done. Draymond was. But Draymond was also the guy, Stephen A., who you point to and say that the Cavs were given a gift by the league. They were given a stimulus package, you called it, when Draymond was suspended because he had so many technical fouls till that point. But remember why Draymond was suspended. Not only all the techs up to that point, because you say, okay, fine, now you're up to that point. No more techs, Dre. We can't lose you for a game. LeBron goaded him. LeBron kept his foot out, remember, and kind of tripped him a little bit. And that triggered Draymond. And if you, Stephen A., point to that as the reason they lost, then that's not just LeBron goading him, because you can't get the other guy to behave a certain way. He's got to lose impulse control in that moment. I think about Dennis Rodman on the Bulls, Stephen A., who also has a little bit of a screw loose and was a great defensive player, a great player. And we saw it in The Last Dance. Dennis Rodman would fly off to Vegas in between finals games. And one year during the regular season, he was given 48 hours. Okay, go cut loose in Vegas and be back. And when he wasn't back, what happened? Michael Jordan got on a plane and went and got him because that was Jordan's team. He was the best player. He was the heart and soul. He was the unquestioned leader. What he said went. That's not the dynamic on this Warriors team exactly. And in the past, Draymond's indiscretion in that moment cost them, Stephen A., according to you, a championship. So when I hear Coach say he crossed the line, we love the energy, but he can't cross the line, alarm bells go off. Because in the past, he crossed the line and it cost them.
Well, I don't want to hear the example of the NBA Finals used because I think the ultimate incentive is that Golden State won that game. It was a game 4. They were about to close out Cleveland in game 5, and the NBA gave LeBron James a stimulus package that's unrivaled as far as I'm concerned and propelled them to a title because ultimately Bogut and Iguodala would get hurt in game 5. Iguodala was never the same in that series. He was a defensive wizard and it compromised their championship aspirations. That's my firm belief. I've never deviated from that and I never will. Having said all of that, I do not disagree with you nor Steve Kerr with what you said. Draymond Green crossed the line. And the reason why he crossed the line is because you're up 2. Your technical gave them 2 free throws, okay? All right, you got a double tech and you got ejected from the game. You compromised the game and the outcome for the Golden State Warriors. You simply can't do that. And then it gets to a point where what Draymond is going to have to recognize is the fact that officiating, even with advanced technology, even with the instant replay, even with the challenges and all of that stuff, it's still a relatively subjective business. They can get very subjective, and it's got to the point where Draymond is going to get himself and his team in trouble if he doesn't dial it back just a touch. We all love his passion. I think he's a basketball savant. You sit back and you talk basketball with Draymond Green. He knows what the hell he's talking about. I mean, he really, really does. But that's part of the problem because he's so knowledgeable about the game of basketball and he knows it inside out. I've spoken to Tom Izzo about this, the great Tom Izzo, about this on several occasions, his coach at Michigan State. He knows, and Joe Lacob and other assistant coaches on the Golden State Warriors, they rave about the IQ of Draymond Green. Okay? Well, here's the problem with that. Because you know so much and you're so knowledgeable and you can really pinpoint where the officiating has gone awry and it's gone wrong, you can't be quiet about it. You on top of them all the time. But they're human beings. And they can get to a point where they're sick and tired of you behind. And as a result, they're looking for a quick whistle on you. And it can compromise you. You being Draymond Green, you have to know that and you have to adjust. And I want to throw this at you, Max. When you brought up the Dennis Rodman thing with MJ, MJ was the unquestionable leader. Do you want me to tell you who I think gets let off the hook in all of this sometimes?
Steph.
I think it's Steph.
Yeah, of course.
Because guess what? Let me tell you something right now. Even though Draymond Green loves and respects his teammates and all of that stuff, he ready to go to war for any of them. If you watch his behavior on the court, there's no one he reveres more than Steph Curry. None. Nobody. All right? And a lot of times, it's Draymond setting up those shots for Steph. Steph's phenomenal movement without the basketball and stuff like that. But it's Draymond giving him those passes, instinctually knowing where to get it to him, and enforcing other dudes to get Steph the ball. If there is one person that can get into Draymond's ear and be like, yo, bro, we need you. We can't have you doing this, man. Come, let's be cool about this. Let's handle this accordingly. And talk to Draymond Green in a manner that Draymond Green is embracing and accepting of whatever guidance they throw as his direction. It would be Steph Curry.
That's what I'm saying.
Far more than Steve Kerr. Far more than Steve Kerr.
Stephen A., this is what I'm saying about the dynamic on that team. Like, now, look, I know Draymond and Dennis Rodman aren't exactly the same player.
Not at all.
But of course, and Draymond has more diverse, and on the court, Draymond had more diverse offensive skills. But could you imagine a finals series with the Bulls up against it, and Dennis Rodman's about to be MVP of the finals with a Game 7 performance? It wouldn't have happened.
Never.
And right, of course, and when Rodman took a hideout for a second in Vegas, I mean, they went over this in The Last Dance. He's in the room with Carmen Electra, and she tells it from her point of view. And Michael Jordan busts in the room. He was coming back with Dennis Rodman.
Knocked on the door.
That is Michael Jordan, like, as the unquestioned alpha of that team. And I do think, you mentioned Steph by name, I do think that's the difference in the dynamic of this team. That Draymond is as much of a leader and a heart and soul guy as anyone on that team, including Steph. And by the way, in terms of his importance to the team, everyone talks Splash Brothers, respect to Klay Thompson, one of the all-time greats. But to me, if you had to boil that team down to two elements, not just Steph Curry, to me, the second element is Draymond. It's the pick and roll partner. It's the vocal leader. It's the defender. It's the guy who allows you to play five out. Than that. Those are the guys who he and Steph together revolutionized the game.
It's much more simpler than that. They love Steph Curry. It's impossible not to love him. One of the nicest guys you could ever meet in your life. They feared Jordan. Dennis Rodman, they didn't want to have to deal with Jordan. He won't have to deal with Jordan. The fact that Jordan didn't come to knock on his door to request him coming back. Jordan went to get him. Let's go.
So this is what I mean.
You understand what I'm saying? They were there. Steph Curry, he is loved. Michael Jordan was feared.
So this is what I mean. In the absence of a Michael Jordan type on this Warriors team, we've already seen Draymond lose impulse control. LeBron goaded him into it, but he lost it. And as a result, missed a finals game.
Shouldn't have been ejected.
Well, okay, whatever, but he did lose control. And the fact of the matter is
he didn't get ejected that game. After the game, they sat and they counted against the previous transgressions.
Right. Okay, fine. You think LeBron wasn't aware of how many texts dude already,
Yeah, but LeBron stepped over him and put his you-know-what on his head, man.
No doubt. He was
you can't let that. The man rules alone should have had the officials leaving that alone. You can't do that.
That's my point. So
they knew Cleveland was about to get sent home in 5. That's what that was about.
Because Draymond is not playing with Michael Jordan, because he's not playing with someone like that, he has to rely on his own impulse control. So when you see coach say he got out of line and it cost them, that's a real thing and a real concern.
Yeah, we hear you, Dr. Phil. We hear you loud and clear. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. In the end, if you're Draymond Green, that shouldn't have cost you back in the day. But this particular situation now, your reputation is preceding you, and you're going to get more quick whistles going
Dr.
forward.
Phil.
And you got to be mindful.
Who are you, Oprah?
You got to be mindful of that, period. No, I just talk common sense. I speak real people. I don't speak above them. I speak to them. There's a difference. Might want to take notes. Just a thought.
Oh, I understand what's being said.
Right.
Are we ready to carry on? I got some news for you, fellas, that I think you might want to react to. Obviously, the T-Wolves fired their head coach, Ryan Saunders. They hired KD. Stephen A., did the Nets prove to you that they're the best team in the NBA?
To me, they have. I mean, I'm not ignoring what I'm seeing from the Utah Jazz, but I'm just not a believer in anybody outside of Donovan Mitchell at this particular moment in time, even though I love the defensive presence that both Rudy Gobert and Royce O'Neal has been giving them. Having said all of that, I look at the Los Angeles Lakers, and they were my favorites coming into the season because I assumed that Anthony Davis was healthy. It'd be one thing if he was just nicked and knacked and that was it. This is, that calf injury. We're talking about an Achilles. Stuff sounds too similar to what KD, Kevin Durant, had to endure with him being out. It could be a month, it could be 2 months, it could be 3 months. We just don't know at this particular moment in time, and we certainly don't know if he'll ever be 100%. Here's what I'm willing to tell you. There is not one single team in the NBA that can be less than 100% and beat the Brooklyn Nets. Not one. Nobody. I mean, their offense is just lethal. I'm calling them lethal weapon 3, but I got to tell you something. When I look at Kyrie and the level of unselfishness that he is playing with right now in terms of getting other dudes involved and some of the things that some of the baskets he set up for other teammates, I'm looking at the great point guard play of James Harden. I'm fantasizing about what they'll be once KD comes back, assuming he comes back healthy. And if KD comes back healthy, I don't see how anybody can beat them because I don't think their defense is going to be as god-awful as it was earlier this season. And then not only that, I'm watching them get other people involved. TLC, Joe Harris, Jeff Green, and others. I'm watching them get other people involved, and I'm saying to myself, damn. You know what? Joe Harris is still getting some shots. Jeff Green is still getting some shots. TLC is still getting some shots. DeAndre Jordan has been a presence in the middle. We can't ignore it. Defensively, rebounding as well. I'm just looking at them potentially. And let me not forget Landry Shamet as well, who can shoot the rock. They can go 9 or 10 deep. And I look at it from that standpoint. Bruce Brown, can't forget about him either. I'm just looking at them and I'm saying, excuse me, who the hell's going to beat them? Because guess what? A lethal offense can make you tight once you're on offense because you know you have to be close to perfect because these guys are so unstoppable on the offensive end of the floor themselves. That can make you tight. That can alter and compromise what you're trying to do offensively as a result of it. And then you won't be as effective as you're supposed to be. Now, with the Clippers last night, minutes restriction. Listen, I love Ty Lue. He's a Coach of the Year candidate. I think he's doing a phenomenal job, and I'm very, very happy he got that job. But when he laughed at the reporter because, this incredulous look because the reporter asked him about Paul George being out of the game. Look, man, minutes restrictions or not, you got to make sure Paul George is in the game around money time, particularly the way he was flowing last night. I thought that was a very legitimate question, and there was nothing to dismiss about that. But in the end, it didn't matter. The Brooklyn Nets are the best team in basketball at this particular moment in time. A month from now, 2 months from now, postseason time, we can revisit it. At this moment, the Brooklyn Nets are the best team in the world.
Yeah, I mean, look, if AD's not playing, I can't say the Lakers, right? But I'm assuming AD will play. They're taking precaution. They're going to be extremely careful with AD. And what I've seen from this Lakers team this season, when AD's on the floor, is basically a continuation of last season. They went wire to wire as the best team in the Western Conference. They gentlemen swept the entire Western Conference, 4-1, 4-1, 4, and then they didn't even get extended 7 games in the finals. Now, let's take that team, clearly the best team in basketball, right? Like, listen to those facts. Did they get better or worse in the offseason? They got better. And they're the only team, when AD is healthy, that is absolutely elite on both ends of the floor, offense and defense. Now, we agree about Brooklyn's offense. I keep saying it. If they're not already, they will certainly, clearly, and by far be the best offense of all time by the end of this season. just want to mention the best offense, according to efficiency numbers, right, of all time, occurred last season, the Dallas Mavericks, and they were a good team. And Porzingis got hurt in that Clippers series, but they didn't come close to winning a championship because you also have to play defense. No team in the last 20 years has won a finals with a defense ranked under 11. And the Nets have been playing better defense. Harden's not wrong. He's like, we don't have to be amazing. We just have to be, middle of the pack. He's right about that. But if they are, what I see is a clash of the Titans in the finals, Lakers, Clippers. And by the way, the win against the Clippers, no Paul George at the end of that game. And I know I, more than anyone, have been saying he has to prove it in the playoffs, Paul George. He looks like a man on a mission to me so far to try to prove that in the playoffs. Like, he's heard the criticism and he wants to do something about it. Stephen A., he dropped, 12 points in 5 minutes in the fourth quarter? And one thing you and I definitely agree upon is even if there's a minutes restriction, we don't have to be fanatical about it. If it's a game like that and a dude is hot and you need him for a couple minutes at the end of the game, going over your minutes restrictions by 90 seconds or 2 minutes ain't going to result in an injury, knock wood. It's not, I don't believe that. And I think that would have been the smart thing to do, but they didn't. And so the Nets won a game on a bad call on an offensive foul that shouldn't have been called on Kawhi Leonard. And without Paul George on the floor, they squeaked by a Clippers squad that also poses its own threats. I'd say the Nets are probably going to come out of the East. I can't say if AD's healthy, they're the best team in the world right now.
Well, I can. The way that they're looking, they've beaten everybody that matters right in front of them. The Utah Jazz have been on a torrid stretch, winning like 19 of the last 20 or 20 of their last 21 games. One of those losses was to the Brooklyn Nets by 34. By 34. They've beaten everybody in their path. Beaten both LA teams, beaten, Golden State, beaten Indiana, beaten Boston. Anybody that stands in their way. And the better the team is, the better Brooklyn plays against them. It seems like the teams that have the best shot are the teams that are stinking up the joint because they might play down to the competition feeling they can take a night off or whatever. But they get up, they rise to the occasion. And I just can't say enough about what I'm seeing from Kyrie and James Harden. They've been absolutely sensational. And Kevin Durant is not a subtraction. He's not a minus in any way because this brother could put up 30 on 15 or 16 shots. That's how lethal Kevin Durant is. That's how efficient he is.
The fact that they're doing it without KD is the key because, when AD gets back, the Lakers are different. But my God, when KD gets back, and if he gets back as himself, he's also a defensive force. And this year, even when he hasn't been, he's at least accepted the assignment. Who's the other team's best perimeter player? Fine, I'll guard him. So, yes, I do think if the Nets are healthy, they're going to get out of the East. I believe that, especially the way they've been playing defense recently, although the Sixers will have something to say about it. Lakers, Nets is the finals we all want to see. And I'm not convinced at this moment that the Nets win that series.
All right. Let's get to a team that used to know what it was like to be in the finals every year, and that would be the Warriors. So Draymond Green lost his cool, and it cost the Warriors the game with the Warriors up